If you're over 50 and struggling to lose weight, I want you to hear this first. It is not because you're lazy. It is not because you don't have enough willpower. And it is absolutely not because you're eating too much. What's happening to your body after 50 is a biological shift, and nobody ever explains it properly. Until today. I had a patient last year, 57 years old. She had been on a strict 1-200 calorie diet for 6 months, walking 45 minutes every single day. And in 6 months, she had lost 3 pounds. 3 pounds. Her previous doctor told her to eat even less and exercise more. She came to me exhausted, ashamed, and ready to give up. Her body wasn't broken. Her hormones were, and those are two very different problems with two very different solutions. We ran 5 targeted tests that most doctors never order. Within 5 months, she had lost 26 pounds, without starving herself, without extreme exercise. What changed? Everything I'm about to tell you. So let's start with the biggest shift that happens in your body after 50, and why it makes everything harder. After 50, several things happen simultaneously in your body. Hormones shift dramatically. Muscle mass begins to decline. Metabolism slows. And the strategies that worked at 30 simply stop working. Not because you changed, but because your biology changed. The cruel irony is that most doctors respond to this by telling you to eat less and move more. The exact same advice that already isn't working. Because they're treating a hormonal problem with a calorie solution. And that never works. Let's start with insulin, because this is the master switch for fat storage at any age. But it becomes especially problematic after 50. Every time you eat carbohydrates, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin's job is to move glucose out of the blood and into cells. But here's the part nobody tells you. Insulin is also your primary fat storage hormone. When insulin is elevated, your body is in fat storage mode. It cannot access stored fat for energy. The door to your fat cells is locked shut. After 50, insulin sensitivity naturally declines. Your cells don't respond to insulin as efficiently as they once did. So your pancreas compensates by producing more of it. More insulin means more fat storage, more of the time. And this happens even if your blood sugar looks completely normal on a standard test. This is why the same diet that worked at 35 doesn't work at 55. Your insulin environment has fundamentally changed. What drives insulin even higher after 50? Refined carbohydrates, sugars, frequent snacking, and poor sleep, which I'll come back to because sleep is one of the most underestimated factors in weight gain after 50. The fix isn't eating less. It's eating in a way that keeps insulin lower. Fewer refined carbs, more protein, more fiber, and longer gaps between meals. This alone can transform what your body does with the food you eat. Now let's talk about the thyroid, because this is the factor that gets missed most often in women, particularly over 35. Your thyroid is the master regulator of your metabolism. It produces hormones, T4 and T3, that tell every cell in your body how fast to burn energy. When thyroid function is low, metabolism slows. Every process slows. You feel cold, tired, foggy. And weight accumulates, especially around the middle, even when you're barely eating. After 50, thyroid function naturally declines in many people. And in women, the hormonal changes of menopause can accelerate this dramatically. Here's the problem with how thyroid gets tested. Most doctors check TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and if it falls within the normal range, they say your thyroid is fine. But TSH measures the signal to the thyroid, not what the thyroid is actually producing. A person can have normal TSH and still have low free T3, the active hormone that actually drives metabolism at the cellular level. My recommendation: ask specifically for a full thyroid panel. TSH, free T4, free T3, and thyroid antibodies. Not just TSH, because one number does not tell the full story. Now, and this is the factor I promise that almost nobody talks about, let's discuss cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. In short bursts, it's life-saving. But in the modern world, with chronic work stress, financial pressure, health worries, poor sleep, cortisol stays elevated almost continuously. And chronically high cortisol does several things that directly cause weight gain after 50. First, it drives up insulin. Cortisol raises blood sugar, even when you haven't eaten, which forces your pancreas to release more insulin. More insulin means more fat storage. Second, cortisol specifically promotes belly fat. Fat cells in the abdominal area have more cortisol receptors than fat cells anywhere else in the body. This is why chronic stress leads to that stubborn belly fat that won't move no matter what you do. Third, and this surprised even me when I first studied it, cortisol breaks down muscle tissue. It's catabolic. And since muscle is your primary calorie-burning tissue, losing muscle means your resting metabolism drops even further. After 50, we already lose muscle naturally, a process called sarcopenia. Chronic stress accelerates this dramatically. So if you're stressed and sleeping poorly and gaining weight, those things are not separate problems. They are the same problem. Now let's talk about estrogen and testosterone. Because after 50, these hormones change profoundly, and their effect on weight is massive. In women, estrogen begins to decline significantly in perimenopause and drops sharply at menopause. Estrogen actually has a protective effect on insulin sensitivity and fat distribution. As it drops, fat shifts from the hips and thighs, where it's relatively metabolically inactive, to the abdomen, where it's far more dangerous and far harder to lose. In men, testosterone declines gradually from around age 30, but after 50, this decline accelerates. Testosterone is critical for maintaining muscle mass and metabolic rate. As it drops, muscle shrinks, fat increases, and the belly grows, even in men who haven't changed their diet or exercise habits at all. This is not a character flaw. This is biology. If you're a woman over 50 gaining weight despite doing everything right, ask your doctor about your estrogen levels and whether hormone replacement therapy might be appropriate for you. If you're a man over 50 with unexplained weight gain, fatigue, and loss of muscle, ask for a total and free testosterone level. Low testosterone is treatable, but you have to know to ask for it. Now let's talk about sleep, because this is the one factor that ties everything together, and it's the one most people completely underestimate. After 50, sleep architecture changes. Deep sleep becomes shorter and less restorative. Night wakings become more frequent. And this is not just annoying. It is metabolically devastating. One night of poor sleep raises cortisol the next day. It raises ghrelin, the hunger hormone. It suppresses leptin, the satiety hormone that tells you you've had enough to eat. You wake up hungrier, less satisfied by food, and with a slower metabolism than the day before. Studies show that people who sleep less than 6 hours a night have significantly higher rates of obesity, insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome, independent of what they eat or how much they exercise. Improving sleep quality is not a lifestyle suggestion. It is a metabolic intervention. Fixing sleep can improve insulin sensitivity, lower cortisol, preserve muscle, and make every other weight loss effort more effective. And finally, muscle. After 50, you lose roughly 1 to 2% of your muscle mass every year if you do nothing about it. And muscle is not just about strength. Muscle is your metabolic engine. It's the tissue that burns the most calories at rest. The more muscle you have, the higher your resting metabolism. This is why cardio alone doesn't work for weight loss after 50. Cardio burns calories during the workout. But resistance training, lifting weights using resistance bands, body weight exercises, builds muscle that burns calories 24 hours a day. Resistance training 2 to 3 times per week, combined with adequate protein, at least 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, is one of the most powerful metabolic interventions available to anyone over 50. No prescription required. Let me bring everything together now. The reason you can't lose weight after 50 is not willpower. It's not calories. It's a combination of hormonal and metabolic shifts that your doctor may never have explained to you. Insulin resistance keeps your fat cells locked. Thyroid dysfunction slows your metabolism. Chronic cortisol drives belly fat and destroys muscle. Declining estrogen and testosterone shift where fat goes and how fast it accumulates. Poor sleep makes every single one of these worse. And loss of muscle quietly reduces the number of calories your body burns every day. These are not excuses. They are mechanisms. And mechanisms can be addressed. Here is what I want you to take away from this video. Ask your doctor for a fasting insulin level, not just fasting glucose. Fasting insulin catches insulin resistance years before blood sugar becomes abnormal. Ask for a full thyroid panel, free TSH, free T4, free T3, and thyroid antibodies. Not just TSH alone. Ask for a morning cortisol level, or ideally a 4-point salivary cortisol test that shows your cortisol rhythm throughout the day. If you're a woman, ask about estradiol and progesterone. If you're a man, ask for total and free testosterone. And prioritize sleep, protein, and resistance training, not as optional lifestyle additions, but as your primary metabolic tools. My patient from the beginning of this video, the one who lost 26 pounds in 5 months, didn't get there by eating less. She got there by fixing her hormones, improving her sleep, and starting to lift weights for the first time in her life. At 57. It is never too late, but you have to know what you're actually fixing. I hope this has been helpful. Stay well, and I'll see you in the next video.